Hey everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a fighter build guide for in Solasta 2's early access. I'll be covering both the commander and my favorite, the Aether Warden subclasses from levels 1 through 4, as that's a level cap currently for the early access. Now, starting from the very beginning, the 2024 Player's Handbook rule set was very kind to the fighter. I think they made off like a bandit. Their core abilities are either strength or dexterity, depending on what type of weapon. We're going to go with strength, as typically that ends up being the better choice. Our hit die is a d10, so we're going to gain that many hit points every time that we level up, plus our constitution modifier. Our saving throws are in strength and constitution, which are our two main stats. We can choose the following skill proficiencies, and we get all weapons and armor proficiencies. And second wind got a very nice change. So this will restore a 1d10 plus your class level. You can use this twice as a bonus action. It used to be just one time, and you can get a use back every short rest, and a long rest will replenish all of them. So very nice. It gives them some sustain. I like pairing this with a paladin because they have lay hands to also apply some healing to themselves or to the fighter. And we get to choose a fighting style. Now, this one is a solid one if you want to protect your teammates. You have to be standing beside them, but you can use your reaction to give a +2 to their armor class. Now, if we go with the commander, they don't really have a reaction outside of like opportunity attacks, so this could be a good choice. I do think it's best for us to go with either defense, or if you want to do a two-handed weapon, use the great weapon here, which will treat 1s and 2s on a damage die as a 3, which is a huge boost to the damage with a greatsword, because that just means you're going to be dealing at minimum 6 damage with a greatsword, which is nice because sometimes you just don't hit for very much. You can do a longsword attack and get a 1. So yeah, I like defense though personally for the increased armor class, but if you want to use the 2 weapons, great weapon fighting is the best choice. Now for our races, honestly, you can go with any of them. They all have their benefits. I personally like the human. The dwarf's great because they get additional health, resistance to poison damage, and they can resist the poison saving throw. They also get dark vision up to 60 feet, and they get stone cutting, letting them see any targets that are in stone. The elf is also nice, especially if you go with the Sylvan elf, because this is going to give them an increased movement speed, and they also get their venomous spike cantrip. The high elf gets to choose whatever cantrip they want. I wouldn't recommend going with a high elf. It'd be the Sylvan elf if you're going with one of these. The halflings are nice because they get luck. If they roll a 1 on a d20, they can re-roll that. Huge. They also get brave, which helps them resist the frightened condition, and they can also move through small spaces, so you can move through your teammates a little easier, and they're naturally going to be stealthier, using the hide action when you're obscured by a creature that's at least one size larger than you. My choice though is the human. They are extremely powerful in the 2024 Player's Handbook. They get the resourceful heroic inspiration, so you gain heroic inspiration whenever you finish a long rest, and then this lets you re-roll an attack or saving throw. It's really good. You're going to use it a lot. They also get skillful, which lets them take another skill proficiency. Everybody, and especially in this game, you can run a full team of humans just because this is so good. Now the way skills work in this game is it's going to roll it based on everyone that's in your party, which is nice. So you want to have everybody specialize in one area. They also get versatile, which lets us take any type of feat from this list here. Savage Attacker is a pretty decent one. It's only once per turn. Hopefully they end up changing this to be multiple attacks, because this just re-rolls your damage die. Robust is my choice. I really like this because your hit point maximum increases, so we'll get 4 extra hit points at level 4. You also, whenever we're using a hit point die to recover our hit points, we can roll 2 die, use the highest result, and we get hard to kill. So if you become stable unconscious at 0 hit points, you regain 1. The quick feat is also great, which will give you an increased movement speed by 5 feet, so that's 1 extra tile of movement, and you get agile movement, so opportunity attacks will have disadvantage. It's also kind of fun to take some of the cleric spells or wizard spells if you need to round yourself out, but we're not going to be using this, and it doesn't actually use our constitution score like the subclass will, so my choices is robust or savage attacker here. We already get skilled built in. Now for the early access up to level 4, Savage Attacker, you're only going to attack 1 time per turn, so that's going to be, I guess with action surge 2 times, but most times you're going to be attacking 1, so that's solid. I do slightly prefer the Robust. As a fighter, you want to be as tanky as possible. Now this will take us to our background. While the Aristocrat has strength and constitution, it also gives us skilled here. I like the Lawkeeper a little more. This is also strength and constitution and wisdom, which is okay. Gives us investigation, perception, but it gives us the origin feat vigilant here, which gives us proficiency in perception, as well as being surprised will not give us disadvantage on our initiative roll, so we can go first in combat, which is really nice. Now, one thing that's kind of funny, Sellsword gives us those, but we don't need the Ready for War. This gives proficiency in light armor, shields, and martial weapons. That is crazy on a wizard. So yeah, take that for your wizard. But the last one, and the one that I want to recommend, is the Wanderer, because this is how we're going to get Savage Attacker without having to take it as our human choice. So our human one is giving us the Robust for the extra hit points, and then we get Savage Attacker from the Wanderer. We can increase our strength, dex, or constitution. It's a fun background. It also gives us animal handling and survival, which is okay. Someone on your team probably isn't going to be specializing in that. We also get a herbalism kit mastery, a proficiency in that. So yeah, I like the Wanderer. It just gives us a lot of really good abilities, and you get a letter from Rickard here. Rick, pretty cool stuff. Now, This is the stat spread that I like to roll with, having our strength at 16, dexterity at 14, and our constitution at 16. We really want to have our constitution score set to 16 because this is what we're going to use for our spell casting if you take the Aether Warden subclass. Don't mess it up. I messed it up, unfortunately, my first playthrough because my stats didn't end up saving, so make sure your stats do save as well. Again, this is early access, so things can unfortunately happen from time to time. Now, you could take points out of your dexterity modifier and put them into wisdom for the saves that you'd get. That is another good option. I think that this just works well since we do use our constitution for our score, our spell casting. We're not really multi-attribute dependent, so this ends up working very well. And this requires us to put 1 point in our strength and 2 in our constitution from our background there. Now, for our skill proficiencies, athletics is a solid one to have because this is going to factor climbing, jumping, and swimming, which does pop up quite frequently if you're exploring. Acrobatics is also nice because this helps us stay on our feet when we're going across sheets of ice, which do pop up in this game. These are both strength checks, so I'd recommend having those. Your paladin will likely be the persuasion person on your team, so these two work really well. And perception is usually going to be handled by like a cleric. I should also mention like a sorcerer for your persuasion, but I think that this stat spread mix works well. And our weapon proficiencies, I really do think that longswords are very good. Getting sapping attacks, basically when you hit a creature with this weapon, they'll have disadvantage on their next attack roll. So that is really nice. I also like to have this on if you're going to go with like a longbow obviously, or even short bow, which will vex targets, but the longbow gives us this slowing hit, which will reduce their movement speed. Heavy crossbows can be nice too for the pushback. I like to roll with a greatsword proficiency though, because again, sometimes you want to use a longsword, sometimes you want to have a greatsword or a bow. Javelins also can work here, but I'm typically going between longsword and the longbow there, and greatsword just on occasion. Weapon proficiencies are a nice change. Now, we also get the another choice from this human ancestry for our skills here, and we can choose any of these. Now, if you don't have anyone on your team doing sleight of hand, you can be dexterity is a little bit harder to come by unless you have a rogue. You can kind of fill the role of the rogue, I guess. Stealth being another choice that you could put in there. We already got acrobatics, animal handling, and athletics, so yeah, that's the only other one that would make a whole lot of sense unless you really want to do stealth, but we're going to use heavy armor, so sleight of hand. We could be the lockpicker if you don't want to roll with a rogue. If you're rolling with a rogue, then you put it in stealth just to help out with that. Now, language proficiencies, you want to spread this between your team, so if you got an elf, they can take elfish, for example. So go with whatever your team needs. I would recommend just splitting these between the party. And then in total, it's going to look like this. Our origin feats are going to be both robust and savage attacker, so we get a bit more health and we hit harder. And 16 strength and 16 constitution being obviously the main things here for our spell casting, survivability, and weapon attacks. So upon hitting level 2, you get action surge, and that is like the core thing for a fighter. Now, with the amount of resting you can do in this game, you want to be using that often. Don't save it. It's best used, honestly. The amount of damage that you can prevent your team from taking, that's going to be the most optimal way. If there's a target that's beside you and you just need to finish them off, that's a great time to use it. I wouldn't recommend holding on to it too much, just due to the nature of dice rolls. It's probably better to use it earlier to reduce the damage your team will take. But it's level 3 that we get to take our subclass feature. So I'm going to talk about both because you could choose either. My preference heavily is the Aether Warden, but the build can still be the exact same depending on which of these you get. Now, with the commander, you get the gruff authority here. At the 3rd level, we get proficiency in one of the 2 skills, athletics, intimidation, investigation, insight, perception, persuasion, or survival. And whenever you make an intimidation or persuasion check, it says or charisma check, you gain a bonus to this check equal to your strength modifier. This is good if you don't have a paladin on the team because you can kind of fill that role in a sense. And then you also do the rousing shout. So this is a really good one because within 30 feet of you, all teammates will get advantage on their next attack until the start of our next turn. And we can do this a number of times equal to our constitution modifier. And we get this back on a short or long rest. So you basically can do the rousing shout pretty much every turn as a bonus action. And unfortunately, this is, again, I mentioned my stats didn't save. It should be 16, so that'd be a 3 modifier there. Yeah, it sucks. The Aether Warden is great though, because with the Aether Warden, they use this special spell casting, meaning that they're going to be using their constitution modifier. With the Mythology of Might here, after casting a wizard spell, you use your constitution modifier for your attack roll and save difficulty class instead of your intelligence modifier if it's higher. You could build around intelligence if you really wanted to, but there's no point. And you can also ignore somatic components that are needed for spellcasting focus. So in this game, you need a focus to be able to spellcast. Not no more with this one. You can just have your weapon and be able to spellcast no problem. So this is my preference just because it is a lot stronger because of all the options that you get. Now, you get to take a couple cantrips. You could grab Dazzle if you don't want to get hit with opportunity attacks because this is a bonus action and we typically aren't going to be using our bonus action as much as our obviously main action. I think Chill Touch has some value though, because this stops the target from receiving healing, and so there's quite a few targets in this game that will heal. Now you could also use True Strike. True Strike actually kind of makes sense on this build because you attack with your spellcasting weapon using your spellcasting ability modifier for attack and damage rolls, which finds Constitution. On hit, it deals the weapon type Radiant or weapon's damage type. So you could make this actually do Radiant damage, and then at level 5, it's going to get an additional 1d6. I know level cap's not here yet, but that is an option if you wanted to change your damage type to Radiant. Not really a massive difference at this current moment. I like to have one damage spell, and Poison Spray is honestly not a bad one. There haven't seen a crazy amount of poison resistances yet. This could change obviously as it goes through early access. Annoying Bees is another nice one. It's 60 feet, and the target will get disadvantage on its Constitution saving throws or Concentration saving throws, so that can be really nice. Highest damage and the Annoying Bees. Release the bees! I also don't mind taking Firebolt. Obviously a 1d10 of fire is nice, but 1d12 of poison kind of works great too. We also have bow attack, so it's nice to have another option that's pretty strong. But we get to take some spells, and there's actually a lot of really fun spells. I would recommend having Magic Missile, guaranteed damage, they just hit. And what's great about this is if there's 3 targets that have like 3 health each, you can just boop, 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 take out all 3 of them. It's also nice because we can then throw on things like Long Strider if you don't have someone in your team that's going to have this, which will increase your speed by 10 feet for 1 hour, so until a short rest. There's also Thunderwave, which is nice for the pushback. I personally like to have something like the Shield spell here, so you can use your reaction to get a +5 to your AC. This is nice to have just as a panic button. Sometimes you don't want to get hit, like if you're a fighter frontlining and you're going low in health, you could just drop, you can pop this to be able to protect yourself using your spell slots. Honestly, probably one of the better choices in the early game of this, unless you need a Magic Missile to finish someone off. Burning Hands can be nice too, because this hits in a large 15-foot cone radius, so you can actually hit multiple targets with this. It is a dexterity save, so that does become difficult, and it'll set objects on fire. You could go Mage Armor if you really wanted to. And even Comprehend Languages brings us some out-of-combat utility. I also don't mind the Hideous Laughter, I should say. But I'm not running a wizard on this team, so Long Strider ends up being the better choice because then we can be the person that buffs up our team. 10 feet of movement speed is actually very nice. So we're rolling with Annoying Bees, Poison Spray, Long Strider, Magic Missile, and Shield. Again, you could use like Firebolt instead of Poison Ray if you prefer. And upon hitting level 4, this is a level cap currently in the early access, but if you're watching this in the future and the level cap increase, I will have videos done on that. Now we get to choose a feat, and you get all the regular choices here, like your normal fighting styles, but there are a lot of feats in this game. You can get bonuses to your saving throws here. You get the Blessing of the Elements, which can reduce elemental damage type, making you resistant to it for 1 minute, which is crazy. It does use your reaction to do that, but yeah, you get elemental damage resistances. Ambidextrous is cool. It boosts up our strength or dex by 1. And you can also use weapons, like you could dual wield weapons that are not two-handed or heavy, as if they had the light property when they don't. So you can dual wield some pretty cool weapons. Now, Eager for Battle is a fun one, allowing you to increase your ability score by 1. And also when you roll for initiative, you can add twice your proficiency bonus to the roll, and your speed will increase by 10 feet. So we get a lot of extra movement speed with the Eager for Battle. I like this one personally. I also don't mind the Follow-up Strike, which will allow you to increase your strength by 1. And when you take the attack action with a 2-handed weapon, you can perform a bonus action to do a follow-up attack that'll do a 1d4 plus your strength modifier of the same damage type. So again, we don't have a bonus action that's super heavily used unless it's obviously Sacred or Second Wind. So if we want to deal a little extra damage, that could be a solid choice. But in all honesty, ability score improvement, one of your best choices. This is going to allow us to get our strength up to 18 or our constitution up to 18. I'd actually recommend probably doing constitution up to 18. I'm going to do strength just because my stats didn't save on this playthrough, and I have another playthrough on the go, but it's not currently where I'm at. And we're going to keep our weapon masteries. You can switch these out. That's a nice thing about this. We do get an additional one here at level 4, and you can use that on like things like a Warhammer. We already got a longbow, longsword, and greatsword, so you could even just throw on like a javelin there if you want something a little different. We also get to take another spell here once we hit level 4. So again, Identify and Comprehend Languages are nice spells to have just because you probably don't have someone on your team that's going to be using those. Now, as far as equipment goes, this is early access, so there's not a lot of great choices unless you're farming gold. Best available armor, honestly, you want to have that armor class high, and yeah, make sure you always have healing potions. The Second Wind is nice, but it's nice to have some other backups as well. So when it comes to combat, now our main role is obviously a frontliner. We're also a spellcaster. This gives us a unique role in the team. So if there's someone that needs to get kited around, we can kind of roll with that. Now, we're going to want to be up in their face. Typically, the best thing you can do as a fighter is contest them and just get up right up in there so that we can hit them with opportunity attacks as well. Unfortunately, didn't have the range here to be able to hit him. You do want to swap off and have your shield out after the end of each turn, but right now, we either have to hit him with a bow attack, we got a 50% chance of doing that, or we got to hit him with a spell attack. attack, which we have a 50% chance of doing. And if you're going to go between the two of these, poison spray will end up doing a bit more damage, so it's probably best to, yeah, miss your spell attack. But as I'm mentioning, Action Surge is free. You can use this at any time, and typically it's better to use it near the start, because if we're able to eliminate a target on that, we're not going to be able to this time around, but if you were able to, that's great, because then that's less damage your team ends up taking. So you can see here our longbow does a 1d8 plus 2 damage, so the poison spray ends up being a little bit better, but yeah, we got a roughly the same amount of hit chance, and we're missing both those. Lovely. And again, don't forget to swap out and have your shield out at the end of that. Now, we're actually in a good option. So you can mouse over an enemy to see your attack percentage here. The best thing is if we can surround an enemy, I got my paladin here, we have a much higher success rate on this target. So we're gonna go with a weapon attack here. That's just gonna be our better choice. We can possibly sap them. A critical miss, lovely. I am having the worst luck, wow. I swear these builds are good. I'm just having absolutely bad luck. Our paladin can hit though. And this is what I meant. We don't use our spells often outside like magic missile if we need it. So shield can be nice. This is going to be a reaction that'll let us prevent ourselves from getting hit. This is great because you can just pop that and it protects you. So that's going to be less damage that your clerics would have to heal back. And you, honestly though, I would recommend having a bit of damage done to your character at any time, just because we have second wind and that's a resource that you want to use. Again, we were able to apply pressure there by surrounding that enemy, and that gave our other teammate a boost to their attacks. But for some reason, my fighter does not want to hit the broadside of a barn. And here's another good situation where I can actually surround a target. Typically, you want to use your melee attack if possible. Miss? At least my paladin's doing something. That's so weird. When I did my paladin video, my paladin missed every attack. I swear that the dice are working against me. All right, let's try this again. See if we can actually get a hit off. 55% chance. Miss. Lovely. This is so embarrassing, but I guess my paladin is just getting the advantage they need to be able to get these attacks off, and my fighter is just there. Let's try this again. Please, please, please. Finally, we sapped him. 6 damage. Nice. Can we get the win? Can we get the win? Nice. Sapped him again. 12. Finally. All right. He just needed a few seconds to get warmed up. I would recommend actually attacking first before moving as well, because then you can kind of strategize and move to a position where you're going to protect your teammates. And we'll try to get it again. No. And finally, we got some good news. We got an opportunity attack, so this will likely give us the, no. This is the moment where I'm just gonna use Magic Missile, because we have not been able to hit anything, and we're just gonna go after that target as well. And the thing about Magic Missile is you're guaranteed to hit the target, so we got a knockout there. Magic Missile is actually very underrated at this point in the game, just because you're not gonna be hitting much, as you can see. And that is kind of consistent between a lot of people that I've been talking to with this game. You do miss a lot of shots. That's kind of the experience that you're getting here. But as long as you're getting in close for melee range and then using your spells and your bow, depending on what type of enemy you're going against, you're gonna have a good time as a fighter. So yeah, always get up close, just because those opportunity attacks are a very easy way for us to get a bit of extra damage. Nice, we got our hit there. Wow, and he ran away for whatever reason, and we got 11 damage attack, and that's amazing. So yeah, it's one of the things with the fighter is as long as you're contesting and getting up close, you can then do quite a bit of damage and take out enemies with ease. So that is a build for the fighter in Solasta 2's early access. Stay tuned for more Solasta 2 content. If you found this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and I hope you guys all have an incredible day. We'll catch you in the next one.